Now a Target 12 investigators exclusive.
Johnston's mayor facing questions after suggesting firefighters might start making medical decisions based on politics.
It wasn't a threat. I wasn't threatened. I was just stating a fact that after I talked to some firefighters throughout the state, by the way, not just in my community, they were concerned.
Mayor Joseph Polisena made the comments while testifying about a controversial bill that would change how Rhode Island regulates emergency medical services.
Target 12 investigator Tolly Taylor spoke one-on-one with the mayor and joins us now with the story.
Mayor Polisena's comments came at a recent committee hearing as he pushed back at what some doctors had said in their own testimony. June 14th, the House Health and Human Services Committee examining a bill to revamp the board that regulates ambulances in Rhode Island. Johnston Mayor Joseph Polisena testified by phone and warned firefighters were not pleased about comments some doctors had made about the bill.
And now contemplating on I repeat, not transporting to those hospitals where those physicians who were on the last meeting worked and are willing to go to other hospitals.
That statement grabbed the attention of State Rep Joshua Geraldo.
Did you say that there were EMTs that were or are threatening not to take patients to certain hospitals where certain physicians work because they felt they were disrespected?
No. What I said was that obviously a lot of times it's up to the EMTs to decide what hospitals to go to.
Understandably, that if they were, that's extremely concerning.
They are not threatening.
Target 12 went to Johnston Town Hall to talk to the mayor. He insisted physicians had used an adversarial tone about firefighters when they testified.
So my language could have been clearer, you know, in the heat of the battle, as they say.
Can you understand how some might interpret this testimony as a threat?
It wasn't a threat. It was not a threat.
Polisena said the state's EMS follows all protocols, and if a patient wants to go to a certain hospital, they'll be able to go. Is this a bit of political theater to try to get your way in a certain part of this bill?
Listen, I don't stamp, all due respect, sir, you don't know me. I don't stamp my feet to get my way, okay? I try to make a point. Sometimes maybe my point is a little off, but I try to make my point.
The bill the mayor testified in support of passed the House and Senate last week. But is it even constitutional? Coming up at 6, why Common Cause Rhode Island is urging Governor McKee to veto the bill. With the Target 12 investigators, I'm Tolly Taylor, 12 News.
Now another Target 12 investigators exclusive.
We told you at 5 about how the mayor of Johnston made controversial comments while testifying about a bill that would change how Rhode Island regulates emergency medical services.
New at 6, we're examining what's in the bill, which one expert argues is unconstitutional.
Target 12 investigator Tolly Taylor joins us now with what he's learned.
The Ambulance Service Coordinating Advisory Board has the word advisory right there in its name. But Common Cause Rhode Island says a new bill would give the board power that only the governor is supposed to have. Rhode Island lawmakers considering a revamp of how the state regulates ambulance services. Johnston Mayor Joseph Polisena testified in support of the bill at a June hearing, with some of his comments getting pushback from the committee. Can you understand how some might interpret this testimony as a threat?
It wasn't a threat. It was not a threat.
The bill cleared the House and Senate last week, but still needs the governor's signature to become law. And here's the line that Common Cause Rhode Island says is unconstitutional. The Ambulance Service Coordinating Advisory Board shall establish standards for the duties and responsibilities of the physician medical director.
Establishing standards is something that the executive branch of government does. Shall establish. You know, that's not advisory in nature. That is a mandate.
Take out that line, Executive Director John Marion says, and the bill is constitutional. But leave it in, and Marion says it diminishes the governor's power and gives it to the board.
I don't agree with him. I don't agree that it interferes with the separation of powers.
Marion says when the bill reaches McKee's desk, he'll have several options. He could veto the bill, and then the legislature could either override the veto or change it and pass a new bill, or McKee could sign it, in which case someone could sue.
Ultimately, the governor's office will bear some of the responsibility of defending the law. This will be his first time having to go through legislation and make these decisions.
I reached out to Governor McKee's office to ask if he'll sign the bill or veto it. A spokesperson would only say, quote, "The governor will review legislation when it reaches his desk." With the Target 12 investigators, I'm Tolly Taylor, 12 News.